Hello, thank you for watching my channel today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Yours True Shelf. Today I am doing a wrap up. I couldn't believe how long it's been since I've done a wrap up, because when I went to get the books that I need to wrap up still, there was loads. So I think it's been, I don't even know if I've done one this year, I'm not really sure. But yeah, so I thought I'd do that today. I've started my reading a whole shelf in a month challenge, so I'm not going to wrap any of those up, but I'm just going to wrap up the books that I read in January and February. Yeah, so it's Sunday today, it's a bit gloomy outside. I'm going to finish painting the kitchen today. Well, I say finish, I've got one little bit left to do, but it needs 2 coats, so probably won't finish it today, but I'm going to do that bit anyway. So books, so let's start with the oldest one on the list, which is Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. So this is the 3rd in the Nevermore series. The Nevermore series is really good series. It's a middle grade series about Morrigan Crow, who lives in Nevermore, and there everybody has like a sort of a magical ability, and it's absolutely fantastic. This, I'm not going to go into the whole details, because obviously this is book 3, but this is about a pandemic in Nevermore of something called Hollowpox, and about how they have to work out what it is and how to cure it. So it kind of had similar vibes to obviously the situation that we're in at the moment. There was definitely some similarities. This is absolutely brilliant. Like, I love this series. I just think they get better and better with each book. They totally absorb you and they suck you in, and they are both really well written and beautifully descriptive, as well as being fast paced, and you just don't want to put it down. You just really have to keep picking it up and finding out what happens. It's got some really lovely kind of illustrations just on the sort of mainly on the title pages for each chapter, and it's also got some yes, just pretty, and it's also got some really nice friendships in there as well. It's set in school, which is nice. It's got this beautiful cover underneath. Look underneath there, how nice is that? It's lovely. So yeah, so I'm giving this one was a 5-star, definitely. I love this series and I'd encourage anyone to get started with it. So that's the latest one. There's only 3 out at the moment. So the next one that I read was a gift from the lovely Sean and Bear at Pastory Time. They got me this for Christmas, and this is Between Two Worlds by Tyler Henry. So this is subtitled Lessons from the Other Side. Tyler Henry is a psychic, and he has a show in the US. I can't remember what it's called. Medium with Tyler Henry. And it's basically his story of how he found out that he was psychic. Excuse me. And yeah, how he kind of grew up with his abilities, and not really having anyone to ask about what was going on, because no one in his family shares the same abilities, and trying to sort of find his own path, and yeah, working his way into his career as a full-time medium now. And there's quite a lot of questions and answers. So he's written like a whole chapter on questions that he commonly gets asked and the answers to those questions. And I enjoyed this, but I feel like this is quite good if you are new to this. So if you are curious about psychics, mediums, and you have questions and you want to know about what it's like and how you know it's real and all those kind of things, then I think this is a good book for you, like a good beginner's one. I felt that for me, because I've been reading and knowing about things like this for more than half my life, I felt that it was a little bit too beginner level for me, and that sounds really arrogant, and I don't mean it to come across as really arrogant at all, but I like the ones that are a bit more kind of in depth, I guess. So I feel like I'm also being really disrespectful because this was a gift, and I don't mean it, Sean, I love you. I don't mean it as disrespectful at all, and I did enjoy it. I did a buddy read of this with Karen Evans, who has a really brilliant YouTube channel, which I'll link down below. So yeah, we enjoyed doing this together, and we had some really nice discussions about it. The next one that I read was an Audible, and the reason I chose this was because I've heard Lauren from Lauren in the Books talk about it and love it so much, and I didn't realise you could be gifted a book on Audible, and my friend Charlie Britt gifted it to me. You can only be gifted a book once, but I'd never been gifted one before, so she gifted me that one, and it was absolutely, I haven't actually said what it is, have I? That would help, wouldn't it? It was Love and Colour by Bolu Babalola. I just go take my cardigan because I'm really hot. Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. So this is a collection of short stories. I'm not normally a person who likes collections of short stories very much, because I find like you just get into a story and then it finishes, or you start a story and then you have to again get to learn a whole new set of characters like quite soon. So I'm not massively into short story collections, but this was incredible. This is following the characters are all, I think, all with a Nigerian background or living in Nigeria, and Bolu Babalola has her ancestry is Nigerian, and these are sort of retellings of myths and legends in they're not all in the modern day. Are they all in the modern day? I don't know, they're all retellings anyway. And so you've got characters which I'd heard of, like Pyramus and Thisbe, and you've got other ones that I'd never heard of. There's like Eros in there. I'm trying to think who all the characters are. It's a while since I finished it now. So you've got all these retellings, and for me it didn't matter whether you knew the original story or not, because I still really enjoyed it. And her writing is just so good. Like these stories, there's like love in all the stories, and there's no like graphic sex scenes in it at all, but there's like so much passion in them, and they're just so there's some like same-sex relationships, there's male-female relationships, there's just so much like richness in the storytelling that she tells. And then she's done at the end, I think it's 3 or 4 new stories that she's just come up with without any sort of retelling element to them, and it's just absolutely wonderful. Like I think on Audible as well it was particularly good because when the bits that were in Nigeria had the accents, and I loved hearing the accents and everything as well. And the last story is actually based on the story of her parents, and her mum narrates it with her, so that's really lovely. So I can't recommend this highly enough. This is a definite 5-star, and I'd really recommend picking it up. The next one that I read was, I think it was The Rosie Project by Graeme Simsion. So I had this on my shelves for years, and I've given it away now, so I haven't got it to hold up. I gave it to my cousin, and it's... The reason I chose it this time was because for Pop Sugar I had to choose a book with like a heart, diamond, club or spade on the front cover, and this had a heart on the front cover. So it's about a guy called... Oh my god, I can't remember. Can't remember the character's main name. The main character's name even. But anyway, so the protagonist is a guy who is on the autistic spectrum. He's not got any diagnosis, but he clearly is on the autistic spectrum. And he is a science professor at university, and he is looking to have a wife and children, but he really struggles with dates because of his personality. He is very he has a hard time kind of relating to people, and he has a hard time breaking from his routine and that kind of stuff. And so he designed a questionnaire where he will screen women with this questionnaire to see whether they're suitable matches for him, like are they ever late? Do they smoke? Do they drink alcohol? There's several questions on the list, and if they answer wrongly, he just discards them straight away. He's like, no. Like when he goes speed dating, he gives out this questionnaire. Don, that's what he's called. He gives out this questionnaire to like everyone who's speed dating with him, and he's like, don't know if they fail one question, he's like, no, not interested. And then his best friend is also a professor, and he's like a real sort of he's married, but he basically cheats on his wife constantly. And he sends this girl called Rosie in to see Don about something else, and Don assumes that she's been sent there as a potential girlfriend. So he asks her out, and she doesn't meet any of the criteria on the questionnaires, but she is looking for her father, and like she doesn't know who her biological father is, and so Don sort of sees this as a challenge to help her work out who her father is, hence like calling it the Rosie Project. And then there's like a romance, and yeah. So this was okay. Like, I found it very readable. I found like I wanted to keep picking it up, but it's not a book that's going to stay with me. It's not a book that I'm going to be like, oh, you have to read this to other people. There's 2 more in the series, and I feel like it's just going to spin it out too much. So I don't know if I'm going to read them. Like, my cousin's going to read that, and she said if she likes it, she'll pass it on to me. So we'll see. But yeah, so I give that one probably like a 2.5 to 3 stars, that one. Then I had another one which I really loved. This was another one that I'd had on my shelves for quite some time. I chose this for the prompt of in a rural setting for the Reading Women's Challenge, and this was All Among the Barley by Melissa Harrison. Again, I've given this away now to one of my close friends. I posted her as a surprise because I thought she'd really like it. This is a wonderful book. I saw this mentioned. I remember Mercedes mentioning this a lot, like a couple of years ago. And this is about a young girl who is about 15, and she is living in Suffolk on a farm, and I think it's between the 2 wars. I think. Sorry if I'm a bit vague, but again, I can't check back because I haven't got the book with me. So anyway, it's about sort of like 90-ish years ago, and they live in this kind of very old farmhouse. They have a sort of a balance between traditional farming and trying to move forward with the modern times. There's lots of stress about if they don't get the harvest right, and the weather's not quite right, and they don't have a good year, that they're going to be in financial peril like all of the surrounding farms. So there's quite a lot of sort of tension in the family. The dad is a drinker. There's an older brother, and his best friend keeps sort of sexually assaulting our main protagonist. And then a journalist comes to the village who she is about 40, I think, and she's quite modern. Like, she dresses in trousers. She gets on really well with the men. She's not married. She hasn't got any children. And she befriends our protagonist. Again, I'm really sorry, I can't remember the name. And she sort of takes her under her wing, and it's just sort of observing over the season what happens to this family and to our main character. And there is, like I say, sexual assault in this book as a trigger. There's also some sort of witchiness in there. There's loads of beautiful sort of descriptions of landscape and farming. And then there's also this kind of sinister air that something happens, which has happened, because she's often looking back on this year. And so we've got this kind of, sinister air that something's going to happen. So I thought this was fantastic. Another 5-star book for me. I definitely read more of Melissa Harrison's work. I loved it very much. The next one that I read was a buddy read that I did with Jo Smith, and this is a classic. This is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. So this one, I think this is like a free edition from a newspaper. So this is about Catherine Morland, who is from a family with, I think, about 10 children, and she is unmarried. She's about 18, and she gets invited by a childless couple to go and spend the season in Bath, but they don't know anyone. This couple are a bit hapless, and then she meets the Thorpe family, who the brother tries to romantically entice her, and the sister is best friends with her, and then you find out that the sister is after her Catherine's brother, and then there's all this kind of deceit and intrigue, and then there's another romance as Catherine loves this man called Mr. Tilney, and you think, is the new best friend gonna mess all that up? And it's very kind of scheming and funny and satirical, like Jane Austen. I thought this was really very enjoyable. Jo and I agreed that we didn't think this was her best work. I think we ended up both giving it, I think I gave it 3.5 stars. Like, we both really enjoyed reading it, but it wasn't quite up to normal Austen standards. But I'd still really recommend it, and there's a lot of kind of gothic descriptions in here. There's talk about like gothic novels. We found loads of really good discussion points, like when we were discussing it together, which was really, I find like you get so much out of a book when you buddy read it with someone and you have some really good discussion. So yeah, so that was an enjoyable read. Then I have one which this has been really beloved on BookTube, and I'm afraid to say I hated it. I don't know if hate's a bit of too strong. I gave it 2 stars, but this is one that I was expecting to really like. I got it from the library. I've had it on my shelf for like a year from the library, because the libraries have been shut so much. And this is Lanny by Max Porter. So this is just like a weird bit. I read it. I got it for my magical realism prompt on Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, and this book is like, so it's about, there's a kid called Lanny, and he's just a bit different, and he is kind of in his imagination quite a lot, and he loves nature and art, and he lives with his parents. He's an only child. His parents have moved from London to the countryside, and they're kind of not really settling in that well. Their marriage isn't doing very well, and there's this kind of character called Dead Papa Toothwort, and he is like I don't really know what he is. He's kind of like a mythical being that's in the village, and he can sort of transform his appearance, and he listens to people's conversations. And one thing I did like, so I'll show you what it looks like in the book. So, right, so there's bits like this where he is listening to snippets of conversations, and I did like those. So like it will just say like solar panels my ass, a lemonade top, not a bloody shandy, we can't do stoppered 2 years running, no insurance, no exchange, man so sick of trappy beats, see if we get any rain, a crevice, not a pothole. So there's just like little snippets of conversations, and I really like that, because you could kind of really hear, you know, when you walk past them and you just hear them say a little snippet like that, but you kind of get a sense of what they're talking about. So I did like that. But then there's this artist as well, this older man, who sort of takes Lanny under his wing and teaches him how to do art and stuff. And we're never quite sure initially. Well, initially we trust him. Then we're like thrown into, is he trustworthy or not? And then it's basically like, it just goes from perspective to perspective. And it's written in a kind of quite an obscure way, like in little vignettes almost. And basically like Lanny goes missing, and I wasn't expecting him to go missing. And then there's this kind of missing child dramas for a large section of the book. We don't know like what's happened, has the artist taken him, what's happened to him, how do his parents cope, all of that stuff. And I hate stuff about missing kids, because I just find it really hard to read, being a parent myself. And I just didn't like it. It was miserable, and I didn't really like the writing style, and I read it really quickly. I read it in like a day and a half, but it just wasn't for me. And I appreciate the talent. It's one of those books where I appreciate the talent and the skill in writing it, but it just wasn't my thing, and I'm sorry that I just didn't like it. Then we have 2 more. So the next one was this was really fun for me to find. So one of the prompts for the Reading Women's Challenge is a middle grade book by a Muslim author, and I didn't have anything like that on my shelves. And I really feel the gap in Muslim authors on BookTube. Like, I don't feel like we talk about Muslim authors or read, I don't see them so much on BookTube. And so I thought, well, I'll just go on a Google hunt and have a look. And there were so many books that sounded amazing that came up. And I just feel like I really want to focus my attention more on reading some Muslim authors, because I really, they sounded so good, so many of the stories. And I picked one on my Kindle. And I picked one called The Girl and the Ghost by Hanna Alkaf. This was such a good story. So it was quite scary for a middle grade. But it's basically, so we have our main character, who is she starts off when she's like 7 or something, and her grandma has died, and her grandma has like a ghost who's, I can't remember what the actual official type of ghost she is, but she's a ghost. He's a ghost which will do anything that the owner says. He has to have a drop of their blood every month when there's a full moon to sort of carry on binding them together. And he's quite... well, sorry, my throat's getting really dry. He's quite... he likes doing naughty things and bad things to people. And he then, when the grandma dies, he then goes to our main character, who is about, like I said, about 7. And she is a girl who doesn't have a close relationship with her mum. Her mum's very closed off emotionally and very kind of cold to her, and very, very strict. And I think they live in Singapore. And the ghost, she calls the ghost Pink. And so Pink is like a main character, and Pink's like her best friend, and Pink sort of protects her from stuff. And she's quite a solitary child. She's really into drawing, and they like sit outside and draw a lot and stuff. And then she meets another girl at school. There's a new girl who's Chinese at school, and she gets picked on, but they befriend each other and they become really close friends, and Pink gets really jealous, and then Pink starts really acting out and basically starts doing these horrible things to her, and then she has to like basically go, right, that's it, you're cut off, I don't want you anymore. And then he really ramps up what he does, and then they have to, so her mum gets this like exorcist type man to come, and then she suddenly thinks, oh my god, I don't really want that to happen to Pink. And then the kind of story sort of ramps up, and you have to find out like what's going to happen, how's it going to resolve, how is things going to calm down. It's quite scary, but it was brilliant. Like, it was so magical and really escapist. I read it again in about a day and a half. I really loved it. I definitely read more by Hanna Alkaf. If you like that kind of stuff, I would absolutely recommend, you know, if you like magical realism, you like ghost stories, you like middle grade, I would definitely recommend it. And I'm going to be like really sort of trying out some of the other books that I came across when I was researching Muslim middle grade authors. So that's really positive, that comes out of doing reading challenges. And then the last book that I want to talk about is another one that I really loved. It was called Treasure by Rebekah Weatherspoon. This is a book that I heard about from Mina at Mina Reads. This is a sapphic romance, and I absolutely loved it. It's quite short. I read it on my Kindle, but I think it's probably about 150 pages. So again, I read it real quick. So our main character is called Alexis, and she is she's at university anyway. And we know that she's just had a really hard year. We don't really know what's happened, but she's had some sort of breakdown. She lives with her parents. Her sister is just gone and got married and moved out, and so she lives with her mum and dad, and she has a good relationship with her mum. Her parents are very high achieving, and she is kind of oh, okay, hold on, take my child for a wee. Yes, so she's living with her parents. They treat her, you know, sort of wrap up in cotton wool a little bit because they're quite worried about her. And she has just gone back to college, and she's studying, I think, like computing and business or something like that. And then she goes on her sister's hen party right at the beginning of the book, and they go to a strip club, and they meet Alexis sees this woman dance called Treasure, and she is also a student. They don't know each other, but she's also a student at the same university, and she strips to earn enough money to pay her tuition. And her mum's a foster mum, and she has like 5 foster siblings, so she's kind of helping pay the family wages as well. And so Alexis is gay, and she gets this dance from Trisha, and just like, she's never been in a relationship before, and she's just like besotted with Treasure. And then when they start school and back at university, it turns out that they're in the same business class, and they recognise each other straight away. And they're both quite shy. They've both never really had a proper relationship before, and they start to like build this friendship, and they really like each other, and they constantly thinking about each other. And then it's just such a sweet story. It's like both of them kind of building this like this friendship and this romance, and they're both shy of each other, and they don't know how to react to each other. And Treasure, so it's actually called Trisha, so she's quite worried about how Alexis's family might react to her, because Alexis is from quite a well-to-do family and Trisha isn't. And it's just their exploration into their first like relationship with each other, really. And it's like it's just this beautiful story. Like, it's quite explicit as well, but it's just done in a really like tasteful and just like loving way, and it's just like a really, really positive relationship. And I just really like romances which are like good romance story, but also a really positive relationship as well. So yeah, that was an awesome book for me as well. I give that one 4 stars. So that's it. That's the long wrap up. I'm gonna have to edit some of this out. Yeah, so I had a really, really good reading month for January and February. Really good. And if you've read any of these, or you want to read any of these, then let me know. If you've got anything you'd like to recommend, especially like romance recommendations, that would be really cool. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say, really. I need to end it there because it's really, really long. So as always, I hope you have a good week. I hope you read some great books. Leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll speak to you soon.